Howdy, I'm Jacob. You're watching the Prepper's Bunker Outdoors. Today, we're going to break a knife. This is the Jackalope from Exodus Knife and Tool. The design is also sold by White River Knives as the Exodus 4. These are produced by White River Knives for Exodus Knife and Tool of CPM S35VN. This knife in particular was actually returned to me by a friend. He has already done torture testing on this knife, and when compared to some other blades that he did, I am incredibly impressed with the toughness of this little blade. Real quick, I wanted to mention, American Bushcraft sent me this blade. He's the first person to ever break an Exodus Knife and Tool product. He did this testing. He has been instrumental in Exodus Knife and Tool. I can't say how much I appreciate him. He sent this knife to me to die. We will probably have to break another Jackalope coming up later, maybe more scientifically, fresh from the factory, but even if it does not exceed the performance of what we saw today, I would not be disappointed. Huge thanks to American Bushcraft on Instagram. Go give him a follow. Thank you. Now, although this knife did really well with his testing, he dropped it on his shop floor and broke the tip just very faintly on the concrete. So he sent the knife back to me for me to kill it. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to start off with some cross-grain batoning. We're going to use rocks as batons today, and I'm going to see what it takes to eventually kill this knife. Now, what I have to say is that the failure of this knife could potentially be premature due to stress fractures from his previous torture testing, but maybe not. Regardless, the point of this test is not to advertise how tough this knife is. I want to accurately advertise at what point this knife will fail so that my customers will know or have an idea of the capabilities of the blade. So, I guess let's get started. I should have mentioned why I was batoning with a rock, and essentially it's because I already know that this knife can handle a lot of batoning with a normal wood baton. Now, I will say that batoning with a rock has sucked. It's just not very handy, and this is sandstone, and if I wanted to really be serious about this, I should find a harder rock. Obviously this stone just keeps breaking. However, I am surprised at this point. What I expected to see, this spine was sharpened by my buddy. It is very sharp for striking a ferro rod. So I thought with this relatively fine edge that he put on the back of it for striking a ferro rod, that we would have chipping already along the back side of the edge. That is simply not the case. I also was thinking that we might break it when I was using the rock and hitting more up by the tip. That also did not happen. Now, I'm running out of daylight, and I was going to split up all kinds of wood in here, and I'm kind of starting to think that maybe that was a waste of my, that would be a waste of my time. This knife can handle normal batoning, especially at this point, I'm convinced. I'll also say that if it had micro fractures from where it had been stabbed into and batoned through some aluminum, that it would have already failed at this point. But I think maybe I should try and baton through the sandstone itself. So basically, guys, here's the deal. I need this thing to break. The sun's starting to go down. I came out here today to break this knife and to see what it could do. It's already done a considerable amount, and I don't really want to come back out here. So like when I broke the Hunglis, I think it's time to get a little bit silly. Oh, and when I broke the K-bar. Breaking knives can be surprisingly difficult. Even if they're of a poor design, they'll usually hold up to quite a bit of abuse. Now this knife is stainless, and as a general rule, a very general, over-general rule, high carbon's going to be tougher than stainless. But the White River Knives S35 VN has proved to be just insanely tough, and it holds a great edge, and it's not that hard to sharpen. So let's see if we can, we'll do a little bit of flex testing here. Let me make sure that I'm in, yeah, I am. Alright, I'll try and do it from this angle so you can see. What we got? Do we have a bent knife here? Maybe? I think it bends up just slightly there. Alright, I need to get a different camera angle so I can really wallop on this thing. I just got to figure out how I'm going to do it. Maybe I can baton it into the rock and then bang on it. Let's see. Alright. I guess what I should have brought would have been a doggone... This is right. Oh, I'm so sore. What I really should have brought might have been a pair of work gloves and some safety glasses. Wow. Poor thing. This is silly. Golly. Okay. Almost died a little bit. That's never coming out. Let's take a look at this grain structure, guys. For whoever's watching, this is not meant to be your heavy-duty survival knife. This is a fine work belt knife. It's stainless steel. It has a fine edge, incredibly sharp, not that thick, not that tall, not a lot of mass, full flat grind. So, you know, freaking beating yourself out of an airplane really is not what this thing is for. Let me flip y'all around, myself around here, see what we can see. Focus in closer. Can we see grain structure? Wow. Grain structure's like freaking glass. Alright, so typically when a knife breaks, like the Bear Grylls or whatever, when you look into the grain structure here, what you'll see looks like sand. This is really, really nice. So I'm going to wrap this up for the day, guys. The Jackalope from Exodus Knife and Tool, made by White River Knives, is 1/8 of an inch thick, S35VN stainless steel. It holds a phenomenal edge. I could certainly still do feather sticks with it. And it is easy to sharpen, in my experience, and I'm not that good at sharpening. And it's tough. You can't really tell in the video. Stuff looks pretty bright. I've got a couple minutes. I'm sure it will be dark by the time I get home through the woods here. But, so what do I think? I have absolutely no shame, no problems whatsoever. I am exceptionally proud of how tough this knife ended up being, and I am exceptionally pleased with the quality from White River Knives. So what does it mean for the consumer? What, as the designer, the business owner, what do I get out of this to tell you? Well, this is a belt knife. It's going to perform phenomenally for your feather sticks, for batoning some kindling. Guys, we're not removing any warranty for batoning or anything else. Not even for the tiny little Adventure Craft Jackalope and this little tiny thing, Adventure Craft. All right, we've already, you know, we've had one of these bend from cross grain batoning of some large stuff. We've had one of them break back when they were manufactured by Mineral Mountain Hatchet Works. Not of their fault, and I've broken one. But there is a no questions asked guarantee, warranty. The only hard part about that is right now that all of the knives that I have made always sell out so quick. So if you break your knife, it's likely going to take a little while to get you a new one. Regardless, this knife, okay, I'm the designer. Okay, so people always argue about the knife's intended purposes. Like, that knife was never designed for that. This knife was not designed for this. If you had to pound this into a tree and tie your lifeline onto it, you've made a poor decision with your life, and you'll probably lose it. However, if you find yourself in a bad situation and you need to split open some wood or do something a little bit wild, you will be impressed with the toughness of this knife that was not originally intended to be a tough knife. And I'll also say that from a design standpoint, this knife does not have any weaknesses. It does not have stress fracture points, square edges. It does not have stress risers, things that cause unnecessary failure. So what you're going to get when you buy an Exodus knife and tool knife is a knife that is going to be made, I believe, as close as possible to perfectly, and will be designed without gimmicks. I didn't put anything into this design to sell it to you, to attract your eye. Nothing on this knife was done to make someone look at it and immediately fantasize about it, okay? No bottle openers, no saws, no crazy lines, edges, nothing silly. Everything is designed on these knives to be practical first, and they will perform as such. I was really thinking that we were going to get more chipping, smashing it on the rock, smashing it through the rocks. As people in the comments will say, that's just sandstone, yada yada yada. They're right. All right, this is not full hardness stone. Banging it into this crack, this is not sandstone. That was kind of wild. I'm not going to lie. Take it or leave it, guys. I'm impressed. I think that we are offering the most performance that we can offer for the price. I'm a small shop, and I'm not charging big prices. I'm charging production prices on par with anybody making knives of similar size out of super steels, with the amount of fit and finish and everything else that we have. Someone might offer S35 VN, okay, in a similar size knife with flat, uncontoured handle scales. It's possible. They might find other ways to cut costs. But if you look at the attention to detail, the fit and finish, and the quality, nobody's really beating this price. Nobody's beating this quality. And you know what? I don't think anybody's beaten White River Knives for heat treat, which is the reason that it will be the primary steel that we use. I'm excited to do torture testing on our up and coming larger combat knives. This is not a combat knife. This is a woods knife. We're coming out with combat knives. We're coming out with knives that, you know, and it's going to be interesting to see how tough they are. Also, you know, we're going to have high carbon steels coming out, and we're going to have 3V. But this S35VN is such a well-balanced performing steel. I can't even believe it. And I think that they could make anything in this steel and have a good result. Thank you for watching. I hope that you have a blessed day. If you enjoyed this video, I know it's going to be a little too long. Give it a thumbs down. Start a fight with somebody in the comment section. Look, there's going to be some dumb comments down there. So if you enjoy mocking dumb people, go hit it up, because I have to read all those dumb comments too. Usually I just try and leave them alone. Sometimes I share them with you guys for fun. I usually do mock them.